It's the big day, Monday, September 25th. We are outside, as you can see, if you're watching the live casino hotel in Maryland. We are ready for ASOTU CON, but we still have to talk about the union updates, EVs for clunkers maybe, and Spotify cloning podcasters' voices.
What?
Yeah. This is actually, if you're listening, this is actually Spotify cloning Paul and Kyle's voice. No, but we made it. Everyone, we rolled in last night with a bunch of our crew, and now it's just this constant drip feed of people showing up in Maryland at the Live Casino Hotel for ASOTU CON 2023.
I've already seen some friends, some people that, I didn't know were coming in last night, got some texts. If you're getting here, people are already excited about just the hotel digs, right?
That's nice.
So that's nice. We got the welcome reception tonight and then full throttle for 2 full days. There's still room to get here.
There is. If you're in the area, you can driving range. We still have space for you. We've been saying this is like the Disney World for the auto industry.
Yeah.
Like, love people more. It's like where everybody wears the Mickey ears. I walked into Disney World for the first time and I was like, who are these grown adults wearing Mickey ears as a couple?
Yeah.
But the kids are cool. And then you realize that everyone's like, they're all in. That's like ASOTU CON. Everyone's got the shirt on. Once you get the swag bag, you'll have the custom laces. And so this is the spot where the believers are going to congregate. If you can't be here, though, doesn't mean you're not a believer. Everyone can't make it everywhere.
Hey, thanks to Cars and Stream for helping us put this on. Our co-presenting partners.
Step up.
We've got a ton of incredible partners. Actually, we mentioned them all. If you go to our LinkedIn, you can find just everybody that's shouldered up to make sure that this event is a hit.
That's right. All right, we got to talk about some news because that's what we do every morning. And we're going to be doing it live from inside ASOTU CON tomorrow and Wednesday.
Yeah.
So make sure you tune in and go to the Spotify, download the podcast or Apple Podcasts and all that stuff. Do we have a UAW trigger pad? All right, it's time for the UAW
update.
There it is.
Okay, so the UAW strike has expanded to 38 GM and Stellantis now parts distribution centers.
Ooh,
they're going to try to hit them where it hurts
counts.
across 20 states, affecting dealership service business. However, bright spot, talks with Ford have been making some progress. Everybody wanted Shawn Fain to say that so bad about them. So the closings at the parts distribution warehouse highlights the issues of wage disparities. Parts depot employees typically earn between $16 and $24 an hour, as opposed to the $32 an hour at assembly plants. Eric Ray, a worker at GM's
Ypsilanti.
Ypsilanti, is that how you say that? Ypsilanti. Very good. Is that in Ohio?
I don't know, but I know how to say it.
Fantastic. Ypsilanti Processing Center stated, we do just as much work as they do in the automotive plants. We do the same thing. We should be treated in the same way. UAW President Shawn Fain is committed to eliminating varying wage rates, emphasizing parts distribution centers in particular. They've been stepped on a lot in the past year. So here's the little bright spot.
Here it comes.
Notably,
Ford.
The UAW made, and we quote Shawn Fain, quote, real progress in negotiations with Ford, choosing not to add any Ford plants or parts distribution to the targeted strikes. They're like, whoop, highlighting their willingness to address key union priorities.
Hey, here's the thing. This is actually probably the best show of good faith. It's like, hey, look, if things go well, we don't hit them.
They had to come up with something after last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Show some good faith. This is good.
I actually love learning about the intricacies of exactly what's going on, the difference between parts distribution and manufacturing. And a lot of people don't even recognize what the distribution channels are for an automaker. And this really, really highlights it. Understanding hey, these are all warehouse workers along the quote unquote assembly line of the entire vehicle build. So, I think this is one of the pieces that I get. This is why the union really does kind of exist to right set, especially some of the frontline workers. So, hopeful to see what happens there, and hopeful that this week proves a lot better for making sure that we don't see this go long into the future. Because I think, hey, look, if everything kind of gets settled in the next week or two, we're not going to see as much disruption as we thought we might have.
Speaking of things getting pushed long into the future. We already have. He's on. We usually control the triggers.
That was legit.
Nathan's standing over there. We're just standing in a parking lot right now. If you could see this setup, you would be really impressed. So harkening back to the time of cash for clunkers, some dealers fear that EV tax incentives may take a long time to get back into the hands of the dealers. Beginning in 2024, eligible buyers can transfer their federal tax credit to the dealer, meaning the dealer can issue the credit at the point of sale and then be the one that is reimbursed from the government. However, there's some concern on how dare they How dare they question the efficiency and speed of a government promise, Kyle?
Yeah, if you remember back to Cash for Clunkers, essentially what you would have is this process to get the incentive back for, like, if you had taken in a clunker and seized it up and then proven everything, the timeline to get the incentive back to the dealer and get reimbursed. I mean, I was a part of watching that. Like, the in-transit money of accounts receivable was insane.
Measured in stress lines on the GM's head.
And this is a large amount of money, $7,500 potentially per car in down payment money that would be associated with a contract in transit typically, but now associated with a financial incentive, which is typically owned by the manufacturer. Yep. And there's a tight process, a tight timeline for when that gets reimbursed and paid.
You know, you can base your cash flow forecast around it. Tyler Slade, operating partner, I don't know if it's Tim Dahl or Tim Dolly, Nissan Southtown, expressed nervousness, citing history and concerns. He said, you're going to have plenty of dealers that aren't going to be comfortable with that risk, waiting for the government to pay, much like Cash for Clunkers. So, you know, like, look, you could be waiting for a couple $100,000 for some of these dealers, and you have a big payroll coming up. You have operating expenses, and I don't know, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I mean, some people waited for months.
Yep.
I don't know. How do we inject accountability into this? We were talking about maybe the government paying a little interest on everything over 15 days. That's not going to happen.
We got a little solution for you over here. The NADA and AIADA are actively working to create the solution and figure out what the point of sale process looks like to make sure and streamline not just the request, but also the reconciliation on the budget line to avoid those issues.
Maybe this is one of the questions we can ask Mike Stanton when he's on the main stage.
I got you. Yep. I might take care of that.
That's tomorrow, right?
That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning.
That's tomorrow. Yep.
All right. Speaking of tomorrow, or today, or tomorrow, are they doing this right now?
Right now. Oh boy. So Spotify is launching a new beta test that will take the voice of a few select podcasters, translate them to another language using AI. So what they'll do is they're going to translate podcasts right now into Spanish and French with German translation in the pipeline. Basically what it does is it translates just the podcast into a different language using the same voice.
It actually delivers and performs it in the podcast host's voice in the other language.
It looks like they're using OpenAI's Whisper, which is the technology which can take a little bit of a person's voice and then essentially clone that voice. So they'll be able to translate it, then clone it. Basically, their biggest concern, obviously, is privacy and ownership of the content. So they're only doing it with a select group of podcasters now. Who? No, they didn't. I searched.
Joe Rogan.
Probably Joe Rogan, right?
Mr. Beast isn't a podcaster, but I know they translate to a ton of languages already.
So, this is interesting for us because it's wild to see, like, hey, this could potentially just be a thing that we have access to in the future. But also, I think just for content in general, and we keep going back to this, but just watching out for whether or not it's human or AI-based content, where it gets generated from, and search engines are starting to pick this stuff up. So just remember that as you start leveraging UI or AI in your business, that it's important to know, like, the more human AI you can use, the better, but leveraging or the more human content you can use, the better. But leveraging AI to get to that point of content, hey, if Spotify's doing it,
we're only 6 months away from it. Probably large scale. I saw somebody, Avery Ekanini. She's the head of Web3, Vayner3. So Gary Vaynerchuk's Web3 company. She had a live video translation where she was speaking Hindi. And it actually looked like she was speaking it as well. It wasn't just a live translation of her voice.
No
way. It looked like she was. I was like watching her lips. I'm like, but she doesn't speak Hindi. Just think of the implications of this.
Nuts.
And our ability to communicate in real time. So traveling to Europe and other countries are going to just feel a lot different when all of a sudden you can hold your phone up and say it to the mic and it's delivering it in real time. I don't know. It's a fun new world.
Oh, wow. What a world.
We're going to let tomorrow worry about that. We are just going to go back into this building that you see behind us and love on as many people as we can and remind them of the industry that they're a part of and why everyone else in the world should know about it. So I think we should go. Let's go.